Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hi everyone. So we will continue in our video to discuss on how to sketch the surd function. Okay, so general equation for surd function is fx equals to square root of x plus minus a constant c. Okay, so in surd function, we need to look for the starting point here. Okay, and this will be discussed throughout this video. All right, so let us consider four basic shapes of surd function. So we have the first one, fx equals to square root of x. So the starting point for this particular case is at 0, 0. Okay, and the shape is like this, which is in the first quadrant. So next one, we have fx equals to square root of negative x. So which is we've got the same starting point here, but the graph is in the second quadrant. All right, next one. So let us now, we have fx equals to negative square root of x. So the negative is in front of the square root sign, so we do have the same starting point, but the graph is in the fourth quadrant for this case. And last but not least, we have now negative of square root of negative x. So the graph is in the third quadrant with the same starting point. So we actually can combine all the four basic shapes on the same axis. So let us try to do it now. So where the first one, we have this as a starting point, and this is the shape for square root of positive x. And suppose that we have this one down bit here, so which is negative of square root of x. And suppose when we have this one now, so which is square root of negative x. And this one we have here negative of square root of negative x. Okay, so in order to sketch the surd function, we need to consider these three steps. Okay, the first step is, of course, as usual, we need to determine its shape. As we have agreed earlier, we have four basic shapes, so which are this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. And we need to identify its starting point, and we also need to find the intercepts if they do exist. All right, so let us consider the first example. So sketch the following graph and hence state its domain and range. So the first one is we need to determine its shape. So we have the question of fx equals to square root of x plus 2. So in order for us to determine the shape, we need to look at the coefficient of x here. So we have this one is positive x, and in front of the square root sign, we also have positive 1 here. Okay, so which means the graph is in the first quadrant. Right, next one, we need to determine its starting point. So for any point, we need to have x and y coordinate. So for the x coordinate can be easily obtained by looking at the whatever we have inside the square root sign. So whatever inside the square root sign must be greater than or equals to 0. All right, so we will write x plus 2 greater than or equals to 0. And hence rearrange this, we should get x is greater than or equals to negative 2, which means our graph should start from x equals to negative 2. So to get the y coordinate of the starting point, there we go for the here, we don't have any plus minus c here, so which means our starting point is at negative 2, 0. And let us try to plot it on the axis. So we have here, so this is the negative 2, 0, our starting point, and we have agreed that the shape of the graph is like this. So let us try to sketch the graph now. Okay, which is clearly seen here that the graph passes through the y-axis, and hence we need to find the y-intercept. Okay, so to get the y-intercept, we need to substitute x with 0. So we need to get the f0 here. So this one is the square root of 0 plus 2, which is we should get square root of 2. Okay, so we need to state its domain and range. Let us try to write it as df. So by the way, whatever inside the square root sign is actually the domain, where this is the domain actually. Okay, so we can write in interval form. So it will be starting from -2 up to +infinity, and please be notice that this -2 is the close bracket because the graph start from x equals to -2. It can touch that -2. Right, what about the range here? So we have RF here. So our range is we need to look for the interval of y. There is no graph here. Okay, suppose we are walking in the on the y-axis, we cannot see any graph starting from here, no graph here, but we can see graph suppose when we start at y equals to 0. So we've got the graph here and move forward and the graph is still there. Okay, so our range is starting from close bracket 0 up to +infinity. Alright, so that's all for this video. We will discuss the second and third example in our next video. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Hope you understand. Bye.